She's a man eater. Why be a man eater when you can just take several seats and have a smoothie? Oh, here she comes. Watch out, boy, she'll chew you up. Oh, here she comes. She's a man eater. We prefer smoothies. Yummy. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. This one contains 1 cup of blueberries, frozen. It kind of helps thicken things up, or keep it that way rather. Less on the runny side. Okay, so frozen blueberries, frozen carrots, which I forgot to include in the short, already posted. So yeah, blueberries, bananas, lemon, carrots, and apple. So 1 entire apple, except for the seeds, but including the core, if that makes sense. 1 whole lemon, quartered, including the rind and the seeds. The blueberries, of course. About a half a cup of carrots. 1 whole banana. And about a 1/4 cup of honey. And I think I threw in like 6 ice cubes to kind of help things along. And then a little bit of spring water for the sake of blending it all. And that's it. I don't think I added anything else this time. Nothing fancy. So basic Betty. And as a reminder, these stones here may not be much for pushing hard on those muscles like a massage stone. But if you're into like dry brushing, just remember to go in a upwards motion, like so, not downward. As these rough stones are excellent for exfoliating. The more you know. So yes, my dear multiversal so familiar, these rough stones do still have their uses. And some of these I would even dare to drop in my beverage, just to be a little extra. Just don't drop them in before you do the blending. Anywho's, that's an amethyst that I just dropped in my smoothie. And 0 flux given. With the haters. Pink. In 2025, there is no karma. There are no haters. And it just is as it is. When you grow the flux up, you begin to realize, right or wrong is subjective. good or bad, is subjective. Everything is so subjective. So instead of putting so much thought and energy into it, and focusing on the accepting and rejecting, let's just be in this state of acceptance, beloveds. It is as it is. And so it is. 555 on the timer. As I said that. And although no one cares about our multiversal lineage, Petty Patricia is going to come out for a minute and blow you some raspberries and then share anyway. There you have it. And there is no end in sight because time is not running out. So guess what that means? Binksy and everybody else can take several seats. And instead of siphoning the loosh out of mankind, you can just, again, take several seats and have a smoothie. And speaking on what nobody cares about, since y'all want to tune in and then make little spin-offs, quite rather emotional spin-offs, like the old Zeta agenda that is so played out. Oh, in the language of the subconscious. What about it? Beloveds, we are all living codes of matter. We sure enough are. And I'm willing to bet there's more Binksies and other reptilians out there who would love to make a smoothie out of us. But it's a no bueno. It's a no bueno. As we're over here turning worry into wisdom. Consciously and subconsciously. With all the holographic inserts, mechanics, and such. But, without all the fancy lighting. Hmm. Let's say even these rocks, even these rocks could be changed by moving them into or through other dimensions. They may appear to be solid matter, physical objects, but oftentimes what we consider solid at times is an illusion created by other dimensional phenomena interfacing with your third dimensional system. Mm. Oh, yes. See now, the form of an object in one dimension can be changed by moving it into another dimension for alteration, then returning it to its original dimension, where the other dimensional alteration would appear as a change in form, like going from rough to polished. Interestingly enough, both the rough and the polished have their purposes. As well as an understanding that each can facilitate. Just like this smoothie isn't only blueberries, but clearly they're taking center stage. But the banana and the apple and the carrots and the lemon and the honey and the water all work together in harmony to satisfy that tummy. 1331. I just heard that the multiverses are mirroring us. Seemingly a separation of bodies. But what if none of it were real? And do you ever feel as though you have become confused whether your own experiences are really real? Or are they just mental events that we contracted with? Mental events, hallucinations, dreams, or even excursions into the astral planes. Well, we have this body, or the illusion of this body, to create bodily sensed data of an increased density. the oscillation of all these energy fields are held within a certain interval, within a particular ratio. Temporarily disengaging the connections between them. And in this case, by the blades of the blender, they are renewed and transmuted. Woohoo! Just like our consciousness can be transmuted and renewed. Oh yes. Many of you may even be aware of the split that has happened or is happening, depending on what timeline you're on. When the mind is accelerated and tuning into a higher frequency pattern, the body is actually decelerated, slowed down. Not a race to the finish line, race to the finish line, race to the finish line. I have more than they do. I have more degrees and titles than they do. I have more money than they do. I have more good fortune than they do. More, 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 more. More is more, more is more. Until they find out that trying to carry that through the next portal, those particles will be destroyed. But what do I know? I mean, I know how to make a good smoothie, but I also know that all I know is that I know nothing. Tell your ego to try that one on for size. Oh, yes. So, not all humans carry these codes. And not all code carriers can carry them to full activation. Is that so? A number of humans linked to latent genetic code sequence that must be brought to activation, allowing for the progressive transmutation of form. Those who carry this matrix it's within us on a cellular level, within this material, most often misconstrued as junk. Junk. We need to come up with a really good acronym for junk. Just unfold, not knowing. There it is. J for just, U for unfold, N for not, and K for knowing. Ah! I just came up with an acronym. Just, unfold, not knowing. Ooh, an accelerated evolution. This latent ability to transmute cellular structures, which will one day allow us to traverse the time portals and interdimensional passageways without deterioration of this biological form. Sounds juicy and exciting, doesn't it? But with this junk DNA, we carry this predisposition to multi-dimensional perception. Oh, that's crazy talk. She must be Lulu. She must be out of her gourd. Oh. Or we could have just been working from our future as well as from our past, leading to the fulfillment of this genetic imprint we loves, assisting in setting the codes for the advanced evolution of humanity. 2, 2, 2, 2 on the timer. No more harm coming through from the Zeta. No more living in fear. What motivates me the most to do this is knowing that you don't care. We carry silicate matrix or crystal genes. The gene of transmutation. Ah, yes. Merely donors. You will not actually experience a pregnancy. And most of you will never remember these encounters. Unless or until you have a deep hypnotic regression done. I know how it feels to have someone plant false memories on me. Due to SA and other violations, where the psych then puts on or allows uncover memories. That trauma was real. And now it is cloaked in human clothing. Oh. She sounds like a basket of fruits and nuts. Okay. You keep saying that until you get used and used and used repeatedly for your services. So we came here under contract, you know, soul agreements. We won't even get on the subject of our babies disappearing. Or being abducted and taken to another timeline. And the only way to actually carry these embryos, beloveds, is to have that silicate matrix within the latent genetic code. As we've already endured a great degree, not just some degree, of transmutation, of vibrational acceleration. And that ain't nothing to just shake a stick at. They tried to block our memories, but they failed. See, the men, they participate in the interbreeding as well. It is rare. It is rare. As that relationship between the human father and the hybrid child is arranged or manipulated, as in my case, where there was this communication and intent, we'll just say, with both. But the father is admittedly Luciferian, but the only way to know about that was to find out from the son and then have them say, well, if I'm a Luciferian, what do you think that says about my father? Well, I know what that says to me. I was outie. I was outie. Even though it made me look like I was abandoning everything, I was actually running from my life. Women aren't any more special than men, though. You see, what happens here is women are more accepting and trusting. And conducive to nurturing. Some of us would have even liked to believe that we could heal that Luciferian narcissist. But we're not their real dad or their real mom. Nor are we responsible for their transplants. So, if something is never truly ours, then how can it be abandoned? And just know, regardless of that illusion of comparison, duality, differentiation, when we carry that stronger human imprint, it allows for certain advantages. That these Zetas only wish they could even begin to comprehend, which is what they're trying to do, which is why there's a such thing as abductees. And it's the mind control that's implemented. That brings in the sleeping part. Wake up! It's time to wake up. There's a new understanding that is not New Age, and it's not really new. It's being relearned, it's being remembered, realigned, reintegrated, reintroduced, re. And those who have brought harm to humanity are merely only guilty of the crime of ignorance. They do not believe that non-invasive methods of interspecies cooperation exist. So they steal it from us. Rob and steal and pillage and harm. And then place false attachments on us to make us look like we're the guilty parties. When again, the only thing we're guilty of is ignorance. And in 2025, beloveds, we're overcoming it. Oh, yes. Those who once acted in violation of universal law, aiming to dictate how we cooperate, well, they didn't want to play by the rules. So guess what that means? We're no longer required to play by their rules. As certain rules have they've only been designed for a polarized universe, where this only place that duality and the perception of it can even exist. Interestingly enough, about duality, it allows the choice of breaking the rules or following, of going with the flow or going against it. Clearly, I made my choice. Instead of being a man-eater, I'll take several seats. And choose a smoothie. Oh, yes. Finito. And so good. Let's see what the Rose Oracle has to say about the star seeds. Because if you've been picking up what I've been putting down this entire time, you will also know that is what I've been talking about this entire time. Oh my goodness. And beloveds, I hate to break it to you. Actually, no, I don't. That's a half truth. I love to break it to you, because emotion is far more than you realize. A a term to describe the perceived result of a subconscious process, organic to your form, but you rarely glimpse the reality of that process in energy terms. Emotion is the product of the seventh sense. Cellular absorption. And at 528 hertz, you can regenerate that information. Packages of perception. Oh, yeah. You're regulating and facilitating within that human organism. And if you're unsure why, well, it allows for the development of tremendous potentials within the human species. One more shuffle. And a split. And from the bottom, we have held. Sureness of the soil, unseen help, support, and community. Help, you say. Community, you say. The law of reciprocity, you say. Beloveds, we are not a dying race. That is a lie. It is a delusion. Created by other advanced interdimensional races agreeing to assist the Zeta in creating mutations in their lineage through what? Genetic engineering. As they cannot be held in the same regard as humanity. The best news of all is that it is not the end of the world, but it is the end of the world as we know it. Held. Let's talk about it. Page 86. Unseen help, you say? Although they say most Zeta can now be trusted in their dealings with humans, there are certain factions of that race who have not yet agreed to the New Earth agenda. So, do you really want to think that they are the unseen help? Or would you like to be on the same wavelength of those who you may know of who are like Christ? Christ-like. Or are you gonna rub elbows with the unenlightened ones responsible for the pain caused to the human? And I'm not talking about mere frightening encounters and a little mild tinkering. But actual physical and mental harm. But again, even their misconduct was out of ignorance, as they had little clue to what was actually useful and what was harmful. Treating us much like some of our human comrades, like lab rats, because they, again, cannot be held in the same regard. When times are turbulent, to keep ourselves steady, we need something to hold on to. When things are crumbling around us, we must find something we can count on that won't budge. Deep roots hold us steady when the winds of change come blowing. A supportive community around us. When we leave home, we must find something to hold us. When our lover leaves, we must find something to hold us. When the job ends, we must find something to hold us. When our parents die, we must find something to hold us. When we think there's nothing to hold us, it's an invitation to find new supportive ground. This is where we can discover the sureness of the soil, the holding of the roots, and reach out to our community for extra holding. We were never meant to grow on this earth alone. Sometimes life rips us from what we cling to the most. And in many of our cases, everything we have ever known and loved was ripped from us. Until it wasn't. Life rips from us what we cling to the most. In that case, don't cling to your family. Don't cling to anything. Because it can all be gone more quickly than it can be regenerated. Perhaps we cling to it for we can feel the cycle of change coming. Yet in the darkness of our longest, darkest night, we discover that it is in the empty spaces that we can be reached and held the most. It is there that we discover a holding that we didn't know before. And we discover that what we thought was a tomb is actually a womb. If you look a little closer. Tomb to womb, womb to tomb to womb, womb to tomb. You're being called to trust that Great Mother has got you. To trust in the sureness of her soil. To trust the process of what's unfolding. And that you're not going through this alone. How can you call in more support into your life? What's holding you right now? Say yes. Expand through the extremes and trust life. Open. Womb. Speaking of open wombs, I had an open womb since 3+1. And had it repaired just so that I could have the experience of losing my virginity. Although, once you lose it, you can't really get it back. But we sure did try. Thank you, Carolyn, for the opportunity to try. But an open womb it is. An open womb it is. Open. Open. Page 98. Say yes. Expand through extremes and trust life. This is probably one of the biggest challenges of life. Keep your heart open through the extremes. No one is immune to the highs and lows of the human experience. From the ecstasy to the agony, the joy to the grief, the love to the loss. We can't bypass difficult parts of being human if we want to truly experience the bliss. And if you close your heart off to the grief, you won't be able to fully experience the joy. So, the rose teaches us this season after season. She knows that if she doesn't surrender to each of the seasons, come summer, she won't be able to bloom. Birth teaches us this too. The safer the mother feels, the more she can open. Living and dying with your heart open is truly a courageous act, as a life well lived is full of losses and tragedies, as well as great love, triumphs, and adventures. When we're going through difficult times, when we most want to separate, the healing is often found in the connection, not the separation. Oh, I'll tell that to my Luciferian ex. when we close our heart and shut down because the pain is too much. I was sleeping. I had no way of knowing. And I forgive myself and I forgive you. Moving along, the rose shows up, showing us how to open to the world no matter what the day brings. This card is here to encourage you to say yes to life, to expand through the extremes, and to put your 2 feet wholly and completely in. And the inquiry with this card is, how can you say yes? 5555. Time to bring this message to a close as we are going through changes. And so it is, because it is as it is always. So it is. And brightest blessings.